There's no doubt this world is on the brink of collapse. We see man dominating man to his harm. We've experienced a crippling pandemic. But we also see the identity of the King of the North becoming ever clearer, as mentioned in the scriptures. And despite restrictions on our public preaching, we still see a global ministry taking place with success. It thrills us to see these Bible prophecies being fulfilled right before our eyes. It strengthens our faith, and we're confident in the future fulfillment of prophecies yet to come. Prophecies such as no more sickness, no more death, the wicked will be no more, and the meek will possess the earth. We're excited about these good things to come and the message of hope found in God's Word, the Bible. We want everyone to hear it, so we eagerly share it with as many as we can. It reminds us of what the Apostle Paul referred to at 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 13. Turn there with me to 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 13. As we read this, note what Paul's faith motivated him to do. He says, "Now because we have the same spirit of faith as that of which it is written, I exercised faith, therefore I spoke. We too exercise faith, and therefore we speak." Paul was here quoting from Psalm 116, verse 10. This is a song of praise to Jehovah. And he mentioned that his faith motivated him to speak about Jehovah. On the night before his death, Jesus had a long talk with his apostles. In that talk, he encouraged them to keep bearing much fruit, to endure in their kingdom preaching work. After that discussion, they likely sang that very psalm, Psalm 116. Jesus knew that a strong faith in the kingdom would motivate them to speak about it. And the same is true for us. Our faith motivates us to preach. We are confident that Jehovah will bless our efforts despite any challenges that we may face. We do admit it can be discouraging at times when only a few in our territory respond to the message we preach. But even Jesus acknowledged that preaching in his home territory was a challenge. So let's look at 4 ways that we can overcome obstacles in our ministry and not give up. The first 2 are highlighted at 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Turn there with me, and we'll focus in on 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 20 and 21. Verse 20, Paul says, "To the Jews I became as a Jew in order to gain Jews." Drop down to verse 21. He says, to those without law, I became as without law. So Paul here adapted to his audience. We must adapt to our territory. In our territories, we encounter many different people. Areas that are predominantly Christian, others that maybe are not so interested in God, ones that are more secular in nature, others family-oriented. We want to present the good news in a way that appeals to the people locally. This takes forethought, thinking about the territory we will be writing letters or telephone witnessing to. And as we do, adapt our presentation to the interest of those. So there's our first way, be adaptable. But Paul went on to say in verse 22, note the second way that we can overcome obstacles in our ministry. Paul says in verse 22, I have become all things to people of all sorts. So Paul was also impartial. We want to be impartial. In our territories, we encounter a number of different ethnic groups, religious backgrounds. We also encounter more affluent areas and more poor neighborhoods. We want to resist the tendency to prejudge people based on their social status or their religion. Instead, we don't want to assume that because many are not interested in a certain territory, that all are not interested. Likely there's one or two who are. We want to search them out and impartially share the good news with them. So there's our first 2 points. Be adaptable and impartial like the Apostle Paul. For our third point, let's focus in on the great teacher, Jesus Christ. Matthew chapter 9 and verse 36 says of Jesus, "On seeing the crowds, he felt pity for them, because they were skinned and thrown about like sheep without a shepherd." We want to view people the way Jesus did. He was compassionate. This past year, everyone has been affected by COVID-19. Some have had to learn to work or school from home. They've lost their employment. They've dealt with serious illness. Many have lost a loved one in death. And many are victims of racial injustice. We have faced these same things. So when we speak to them, show that we understand what they have been going through. Our compassion will likely open the hearts to be more receptive to the good news of a bright future. Yes, our third way, we want to be compassionate as Jesus was. Our fourth way is brought out at 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 6. Here Paul says, "I planted, Apollos watered, but God kept making it grow." Paul never gave up. He kept planting kingdom truths in the hearts of his listeners, and he would water those seeds of truth as he patiently waited on Jehovah to help those seeds to grow. There's our fourth point. We need to be patient. Now, we keep doing our part in cultivating and planting these seeds of truth. We do so by text messaging our return visits, writing letters to those in our territory, and engaging in telephone witnessing. When we do this, we know Jehovah will bless our efforts. So what are our 4 ways to overcome obstacles in our ministry and not give up? We want to be adaptable and impartial like the Apostle Paul. We want to be compassionate like Jesus. And we want to patiently wait on Jehovah to help those seeds of truth to grow. Now, sometimes the challenge is just getting started. So let's look in on 2 demonstrations that will help us to get started in telephone witnessing. The first will be given by Sister Lori Ann Deal. Note her introduction as she engages in telephone witnessing.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Lori Ann. You don't know me, but I live right here in town. I'm calling some of my neighbors because this has been such a difficult time for all of us. It seems that everyone is just ready to put it all behind them. Is that how you're feeling?
Well, yes. I am looking forward to things going back to normal for sure.
I'm curious though, what do you think might be one of the biggest challenges going forward?
Well, there is a lot of stress and tension right now, and it is concerning to see people so deeply divided.
Yes, that worries me too. The news is full of reports of confrontations and acts of violence. Something that helps me to stay positive is a promise that our Creator Himself has given us. It's a promise about a time when everyone will be safe and feel secure. It's recorded in the Bible book of Micah, chapter 4, verses 3 and 4. You might be familiar with these words. It says that people will beat their swords into plowshares. They will not learn war anymore. and no one will make them afraid.
Thank you, Sister Deal, for that effective introduction. Now let's look in on Sister Abby Hyatt as she finishes up a phone call with a customer service representative of a local business. Note how she endeavors to give a witness.
Thank you again for your kind help. I really appreciate your patience and time.
It's my pleasure. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
No, I think you cared for it very well. Thank you again. And before I say goodbye, may I ask how you and your family have been this year? It's been quite the year. I hope everyone's been fine.
Thank you so much for asking. I'm happy to say my family's well. How about your family?
Oh, I'm glad. Thanks. Yes, my family's doing well too. There's a website that has helped us so much this year, jw.org. You can put in any subject in the search bar and find positive information from the scriptures. It's really great. It's been such a help to us.
Oh, well, thank you. Let me make note of that. jw.org?
Yes, I hope you have a chance to look it up. For instance, I was watching the news and there was a lack of peace in the news, so I put the word peace in the search bar and found a beautiful prophecy about lasting peace on the earth. In Psalm 37:11, the meek ones will possess the earth and enjoy an abundance of peace.
Thank you, sisters, for those effective introductions. Friends, the next time we engage in telephone witnessing, let's give these introductions a try. Likely, we will find those with a receptive heart. We need to have faith that Jehovah is still drawing those rightly disposed. I'd like to share with you an experience that highlights that point. It's the experience of Sergio and Olinda. They are full-time ministers in their 80s. 6 days a week, they walk to a busy section of town, arriving at 7 a.m. near a bus stop where they offer Bible literature. Most ignore them, but note what Sergio relates. He says, "Because of illness, we did not go to the square for a while. When we returned, passers-by asked, 'What happened? We missed you.' Olinda adds, 'The bus drivers waved to us, and some shouted, 'Good job.' They even asked for our magazines. To their surprise, a man stopped by their witnessing cart, gave them a bouquet of flowers, and thanked them for the work that they do." Now today, many may not listen to our message, but they do observe us, just as they did Sergio and Olinda. They notice our neat attire, our polite behavior, and our warm smile. And this is enough for Jehovah to then draw those that are rightly disposed. Our personal share in the ministry plays an important part in that process. Never do we want to underestimate the impact that sowing and watering kingdom seed can bring to our local territory. Now let's take a moment to look at the review question for this part. The question is, what will motivate us to keep preaching despite challenges? The answer, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 13. Our faith motivates us to keep preaching and not give up. We do our best to be adaptable, impartial, compassionate, and patient. If we do this, we know Jehovah will bless us for declaring our faith.